I've always loved my job as a teacher. Well, I guess sometimes it's a bit of a love-hate relationship, but you know what I mean. And I've always loved to travel, or I've loved the idea of being able to travel, especially traveling overseas. So how does a teacher combine their job with a love of travel? Let me take you on a little journey. Teaching, the way that I do it at least, has provided me with many opportunities to travel, to see the world, and to experience some amazing things, way more than I had ever imagined. Sometimes my job has actually required me to travel, and this travel has been paid for by my school. And other times it's just encouraged me to travel. Here's how it's worked out. So let's start with where I've worked as an international teacher. I've lived in Philippines. I lived in the Philippines for 2 years. I lived in Singapore for 4 years. I moved to China and lived there for 3 years. I then moved to Hong Kong and lived there for 4 years. I then sort of detoured a little bit and went back to Australia for a while, and then came back to Singapore for another 2 years, and from there back to Hong Kong and 4 more years there in Hong Kong, and I'm now here in Bangkok, Thailand, where I've been for 3 years now. Secondly, my job has also required me to travel for professional development. That means for courses, for workshops that the school has asked me to attend and have paid for the trips, the accommodation, the food, all the expenses, and these are the places that I've been to because of that. From the Philippines, I visited Hong Kong for the very first time to do a business management workshop. From Singapore, I was originally planned to go to a workshop for an MYP conference that was going to be in Mumbai in India. Unfortunately, that was cancelled, and so they sent me to Melbourne. Now, I'd never been to Melbourne despite living my whole life in Australia. So going to Melbourne was actually pretty cool. It was a trip and it was paid for. When I was in China, I had another workshop that I needed to attend, and this time it was in Hong Kong. When I lived in Hong Kong, my boss came to me and told me that in my role as an IB diploma coordinator, I really needed to attend annual conferences regardless of where they were. So I had one in Hong Kong, but I also had one in Singapore, one in Malaysia, and another one in Hanoi. Another way that I've been required to travel because of my job is that schools do excursions, they do trips. They do, in fact, many schools do trip weeks. That requires you to take students away on a trip for a whole week and experience something really unique or interesting. And in many cases, this required me to travel internationally with a group of students to a different country. When I was in Singapore, I took a group of students to Indonesia. From China, I took students to Hong Kong. I seem to have gotten to Hong Kong quite a few times, but from China, I went to Hong Kong for an outdoor adventure opportunity with a group of students. And that was for a whole week, and it was up in the new territories of Hong Kong where we focused on hiking, camping, and kayaking. From Hong Kong, I was lucky enough to go on trips to China twice and Cambodia twice. And this sort of opened up Cambodia to me as a travel destination, which I later took my wife and then went on another trip to Cambodia with a friend of mine. From Singapore, I took a group of students on a service trip where we focused on service activities such as working in an orphanage, working in hospitals and some things like that, and that was in Ho Chi Minh. Fourth reason I've had to travel because of my job as an international teacher is because I coach football. And in international schools, sometimes the tournaments are in different countries. So I've had the opportunity to travel across borders just in my capacity as a football coach. And that's been a really cool experience to go to another country with kids to play sport. From Hong Kong, I took football teams to Macau and also to China. From Thailand, I took teams to Vietnam and also to Malaysia. On top of this, the desire to change countries and change jobs every 3 or 4 years or so has meant that I've decided to go to recruitment fairs. So I've attended recruitment fairs in both Singapore and also Thailand, in Bangkok, which was my first recruitment fair. Of course, these aren't paid for by the school, but it's the job that has sort of led to me taking those trips and, again, spending some time seeing different places at different times. So as you can see, once you become an international school teacher, you're virtually forced to travel. It's a real perk of the job if you love to travel. Of course, if you didn't like to travel, it would be a negative. But for me, I love to travel, and my job has demanded that I continue to travel as a part of my job, and mostly all paid for by the job, by the school. On top of this, of course, you're likely to find yourself in the vicinity of different countries. Now, I grew up in Australia, which is very isolated, but living in Asia, especially living in Southeast Asia, you have access to many countries that are really, really close by. So your holidays actually generally are dominated by travel as well. So as well as all of the previous places that I've mentioned, and I've actually holidayed in all of those places on various occasions where I've had short holidays throughout the year. As well as that, I've traveled to Japan, I've also traveled to South Korea, and I regularly get back to Australia on holidays as well, especially the long holiday in the summer. Unfortunately, I had a trip planned with my wife to Italy, and that was cancelled because of COVID. So I've not really traveled a lot around Europe. I did a little bit of Europe travel when I was younger, but if I was living in Europe or if I was living in South America, then all these travel destinations would certainly take a very different look. And I'm very happy working and living in Asia, so it's been great. I also feel that living in Asia provides better opportunities in terms of financial opportunities, in terms of being able to save. So yes, of course, it's the living in a country that's the real highlight of international teaching, but it can't be denied that there are also lots of travel opportunities where you get to travel as a tourist to various places in the vicinity of where you're living, and even further abroad if you want to in your larger holidays. So for me, being a country boy from Australia, it's been a bit of a wild ride, and it's way beyond what I ever expected when I first got that passport when I was 25 years old. It's a great way to live. I've really enjoyed it, and I encourage people to check it out, explore the world of international teaching. Like this video, subscribe if you want, and check out my other videos, which hopefully will help you to make a decision and to actually get that international teaching job that might change your life, just like it's changed mine. All right, see you in another video.